These are the three theories as they stand: is lone gunman, Groyper, and then some sort of Israeli conspiracy. And I, like you, want to get to the truth. I want to understand who killed Charlie Kirk.
Hello everybody, my name is Peter Wiggin. Welcome back to another video. In this one we have Nick Fuentes talking to Alex Jones about the assassination of Charlie Kirk. It hasn't even been a month since Charlie Kirk was assassinated on the Utah Valley University campus by alleged shooter Tyler Robinson. In this clip, they talk about their conspiracies regarding the subject, as well as some things that we really don't know. Let's get into it.
Yes, well, thank you for having me. I think this is the first time we've spoken since Charlie Kirk was murdered. And of course, everybody's talking about who was actually responsible. And this is something that kind of has stuck out to me since it happened, is so much has been said about the significance of it and the gravity of the moment and what it means for our country. And yet we still don't know all the answers. We don't know for a fact who pulled the trigger. We don't know for a fact who was the gunman. We don't know for a fact if there was a wider conspiracy. And so at the same time, we're being told what it all means and what it means for us and for the country and the right and the left. At the same time, we actually don't even know what it is. Where we're being told what it means, we don't know what it is. And I would say that there's been so many different theories about it as well. Of course, there is the official narrative, which is that the killer was a trans chaser. So he's apparently a gay man who was dating or had some kind of boyfriend who was a male to female transgender. And the going narrative is that he was basically some species of the left. We don't know if he's a liberal, Democrat, communist, socialist. We know maybe he's an ally of the LGBT. He inscribed on the bullets certain slogans associated with Reddit or the furry community. And we can surmise, based on some of the text messages that have been shown to us, but which there are some outstanding questions about those, that he killed Charlie Kirk because of his anti-LGBT politics. So we basically have a lone gunman theory. A lone gunman, 22 years old, clean record, no mental illness, no criminal background, gets his grandfather's rifle that was given to him, drives 3 hours to the venue, shoots this guy, one shot, one kill, gets away clean, turns himself in. That's the official narrative. But like you said then, and a lot of people were quick to sort of move past this, but I think this was really interesting. Within 48 hours of the killing, there was this, what I believe to be a top-down narrative. It came from the left, maybe from the Democrats, which said actually this was a far-right guy. And the inscriptions were not actually very clear about his political ideology, but actually they were ambiguous. They were vaguely referencing video games, vaguely referencing internet culture, and we really don't know. And then they started to say, well, he's a Groyper. All of a sudden, you have these viral posts on Facebook and X that were talking about how I had this conflict with Charlie Kirk, and there was this major critique from the right wing, from Charlie Kirk's ideological right, to his right. And so they said the shooter might have been a Groyper. He was a video gamer, extremely online, political radical, but they say maybe he was of the right. And that was kind of the first big, quote unquote, conspiracy theory. Right out of the gate, we had the official narrative. We had this guy, Tyler Robinson, trans boyfriend, etc. And then within 48 hours, the first big conspiracy was he's some sort of Groyper. And the reason I believe that was top down is because it was so saturated. And you said this earlier, you've been a subject of these attacks before, as have I. It's very apparent because of how quickly they achieve saturation. This theory was everywhere so quickly.
Well, it's very simple. An exact talking point explodes in 1,000 places in 1 second, then 10,000 5 seconds later, then 1,000,000 5 minutes later. It's boom.
Right. It's exponential. The growth of it is exponential, such that there was a poll released, I believe, on the Monday following the killing, and it said that 26% of Generation Z believed the killer was right-wing. More young people believed the killer was right-wing, a far-right radical, than believed he was left-wing. That's how effective it was. And that's
sure,
how
but let's be clear. Let's be clear on this point. What you're saying is key, but it's not just exponential. When it first appears, when you know it's synthetic, they will push at 1,000 or more points instantly the exact same thing. That doesn't work that way, a script. So you know when it's staged, because they put it out immediately in the first attack, everywhere the same second. You know it's being pushed by bots. That's how we know.
Right. It was instantaneous. Exactly. And so you got to this point where a week later, it was even being parroted on Jimmy Kimmel. Jimmy Kimmel, of course, the reason that he was leaned on is because he said that the right wing was pretending that the killer was everything other than what he was, which was MAGA or far right. And that was really the first big thing. The second wave, of course, then came. And this was being pushed by Max Blumenthal on the Gray Zone, by Candace Owens, and perhaps by Tucker Carlson, I think significantly less so. But there was this insinuation, particularly from Blumenthal and Candace, that it was an Israeli conspiracy. And they centered on this meeting between Kirk and Bill Ackman in August, as well as apparently some kind of payment, some sort of bribe, which was offered to Kirk by the Israelis directly to effectively buy his silence. And these were basically the three theories. These are the three theories as they stand, is lone gunman, Groyper, and then some sort of Israeli conspiracy. And I, like you, want to get to the truth. I want to understand who killed Charlie Kirk. I want to understand if there was a conspiracy, who was involved. But I, like you, also start with the evidence. When you believe there's a conspiracy, when you believe there's a cover-up or something like that, you start with the facts. You start with the evidence. And the things to me that stood out as evidence that this was some kind of a plot or conspiracy had very little to do with foreign government and actually had to do with the forensics of the attack. Like you said, maybe the most damning thing is the bullet. If it's a 30-06 bullet caliber, this guy from relatively short range is being shot, you would expect that you would see a much more graphic video than what we saw. Like I watched your show about this. You shot hogs with this kind of caliber bullet. It goes right through them, one in one end, out the other. And this is a significant animal versus being shot in the neck, which is, of course, a much smaller cavity, by such a large bullet from an even shorter range. Why did we not see, and, we don't want to be insensitive about it, but why did we not see a lot more blood? Why did we not see an exit wound? Where did the bullet go?
Well,
now,
to be
initially,
clear, it's not just a big bullet. It's a super magnum. It's going 2,500, 2,600 or faster. At 200 yards, it's still at maximum velocity. So you're talking explosive when it hits.
Size, velocity, exactly. Just none of the details are adding up. That caliber, that rifle, the velocity, the size, the range, but also then with the video we saw, it just doesn't really work. And people had questions about it. And to tell you the truth, I was skeptical because I'm not a ballistics expert, and I think a lot of people aren't. And I was willing to entertain, if the FBI had an explanation, I was willing to hear what that explanation was. Well, then we get Andrew Colvett, who comes out last week, and he says, based on evidence apparently that he received from the attending physician, from the surgeon, he says that he was authorized to say, and it was shared with him, that the bullet miraculously stopped because Charlie Kirk's bone density was so healthy and so strong that it stopped the bullet in its tracks and prevented other people from dying. And, that's where you got to pump the brakes and say, wait a second. Is that really the word choice we want to go with?
That's when I pumped the brakes Saturdays, when I went, okay, now we've got, and then TVUSA is calling me, their spokesperson, saying, well, let me give you the full story. But yeah, this Man of Steel thing, that's when I was like, whoa.
Right, because initially I'm willing to believe, and I think it's true, that there are left-wing nut jobs that want to kill people like Charlie Kirk. It happens. There was a shooter at a Catholic church in Minneapolis a few weeks ago, another left-wing person.
A guy came to kill you this year and got killed by police an hour later.
Exactly. And so this is a problem. Luigi Mangione, this is something going on in the country. I'm willing to believe, if there's evidence that that's the explanation. But when they come in and say Man of Steel, miracle, magic bullet, magic skeleton, that's where I got to say, hang on a second. Yeah, I know that doesn't make sense. So now I'm asking even more questions, actually. That's an answer that raises more questions that actually it answers. And the thing about this Andrew Colvett guy, and I don't know him personally, I've never met him, but Candace actually had a good point about this. A lot of people don't know. This is a PR guy. This is a public relations guy. That's what he does for Turning Point USA. That's actually what he did for a company called the Kairos Company. That's where he worked from 2014 to 2019 with Marissa Straight. of Prager University with one of these big reverends that's a Christian Zionist. That was a public relations firm. He represents himself as a fixer. He is a Christian Zionist, pro-Israel fixer. And so if it's that guy, because I'll be super honest with you about how my thinking has been changing over time on this. When he first said that, my first thought was, why would Charlie Kirk's producer and best friend, why would he lie? What would be in it for someone like him to lie or cover it up? If this Man of Steel, Superman thing, if that's a cover up, why would someone so close to Kirk and friendly and working with him, why would he lie about it? But then you dig into his background and you find that this guy is a fixer. He's a PR guy for the Christian Zionists. He was actually there over Charlie Kirk's shoulder at the focus group after the SAS conference where Tucker spoke and Dave Smith debated Josh Hammer. It was Colvett, the producer, who was hanging behind Kirk and saying, I think we could all agree that we talk about Israel a whole lot less. I think we could all agree that we don't want to talk about that anymore. And so it's things like that that actually just have to be answered. And I will say I'm glad Kash Patel, of course, came out a few days after that. And he listed all of these discrepancies. He talked about theories of different shooters and the bullet caliber and all these different things.
Which shows
and
they
said,
know there's massive pressure.
Exactly. And I like that. I actually like that. It's good that there's pressure. It's good that people are on top of this asking questions. And I like that Kash Patel was specific about those questions. He didn't say, we're going to answer everything. There's more to come. He said, here are all of these specific questions we've been asked, and we'll provide answers. And that just has to be forthcoming. We have to see the answers.
Well, let me bring this up to you. Let me bring this up. Where's the autopsy by law to murder you're supposed to do? When I check the state law, it's same law there. It's everywhere. And where's the bullet that was found in the neck? I mean, now I'm...
That's the question. We need the bullet. Where is it? And we do need an autopsy. We need to know, and because people also have questions about how and where the bullet impacted, the shock wave in his shirt. You know, we're getting all these kinds of ad hoc explanations for these things. We need the official story from the people that saw the body, from the people that performed the autopsy. And that's the only reason. I know you said I was a little bit mean, but I do think there is this push to quickly take the tragedy and transmute it into political action. And I'm not ready to move on yet because, like I said, we're all being told this is what this means. Now, this is what we need to do. It was the left, and that's why we need to take these specific actions in response. I'm sitting here saying, whoa, whoa, whoa. Actually, we need to hold the phone now. We actually don't know exactly what's going on. We actually don't have all the answers on this. Before we're told what this means for us and what we need to do about it, let's stop and think, what actually took place here and who's actually responsible. So I agree with you. I think we need to see the autopsy. We need to see the bullet. We need to get the answers from the FBI. I have been told, I've heard from people that claim to be on the ground, and I have some reason to believe them. They say that the reason that evidence may be withheld for the time being is they don't want to taint the jury pool. Because when the spokesman came out last week, he said something very specific. He said, in our country, the accused have Fifth and Sixth Amendment rights to a speedy trial, jury of their peers, et cetera. And so this is actually common. They're not going to put out all the evidence if it's especially damning, because they don't, in a very high profile, highly publicized case, they want to be able to pick a jury that's not biased and get a fair trial so they could get the guy convicted. So that could be a plausible explanation why they might be dragging their feet or slow walking some of the stuff. But as soon as they start to set that up and we get a jury and this is underway, all eyes need to be on the trial. What actually happened? What evidence is the state going to bring? Can they even convict the guy? Will they have enough evidence? They seem to be confident. The FBI, the local authorities seem to be confident they could do that. But of course, until we get that trial, until the state presents all the evidence they have, not in the media, but in the jury, in a jury trial, we're just not going to know. We can't have any confidence.
So I hope you enjoyed that clip. Alex Jones and Nick Fuentes are two individuals that have discussed this topic in the context surrounding it to a significant extent, way more than anybody else on the internet, really. And they pretty much gave a holistic view of their knowledge of the situation. These two guys aren't afraid to delve into conspiracies. I know a lot of people, to their chagrin, have been angry that Nick Fuentes hasn't gone and railed against Israel, saying that Israel was behind the assassination of Charlie Kirk, but really, no evidence has cropped up for that fact to be true. We have people like George Zinn, and this is something that I still think is really suspicious regarding the situation surrounding the death of Charlie Kirk. George Zinn, a Jewish man, right when Tyler Robinson puts the bullet in Charlie Kirk's neck, jumps up and starts yelling, shoot me now, distracting the law enforcement officers on the UVU campus from obtaining and apprehending the shooter. And so that is a little red flag to me. That's a little smoking gun. And there's also some weird stuff, as Nick mentioned, out-of-state plates going up to Tyler Robinson's house the day before. You have neighbor testimony corroborating that to be an actual fact. What's going on there? But like Nick said, Kash Patel's come out. He's been really transparent on the fact that there are a lot of unanswered questions, and we will get these answers out to the public. That was a good move. This should be more transparent like that, especially coming off the wheel of the Epstein file cover-up. And so really all we can do is wait. We got to keep these things in mind. We got to make sure we remember these questions that we are having right now. These doubts that you're having right now, these conspiracies that you're trying to articulate, that Nick and Alex just articulated for us right here. Keep these in mind because they will come in handy later. We can hold this fire to the feet of Kash Patel, to the FBI. And if they won't answer to us, then we know for a fact that there was something deeper going on here. There was something more sinister going on here. It points to deeper rot in the system. Anyway, my name's Peter Wiggin. If you enjoyed this clip, subscribe for more. If you liked the video, leave a like. Comment your thoughts. Am I wrong about this? Am I going completely cuckoo? Are Nick and Alex going completely cuckoo? Was it just Tyler Robinson? Was it only him? Nothing else involved? Was he just radicalized on Reddit? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. We'll see you in the next one.